Feeling overwhelmed tonight? Like life is spinning faster than you can keep up? Like the demands never stop? Like you're drowning in responsibilities that multiply faster than you can complete them? You've come to the right place. Tonight, we're going to find rest in one of the most honest, grounding books of the Bible, Ecclesiastes. Written by King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, Ecclesiastes speaks directly to the overwhelmed soul. This isn't a book of easy answers or surface-level comfort. It's a book that acknowledges the weight you're carrying, the confusion you're feeling, the sense that life sometimes feels meaningless and exhausting. But in that honest acknowledgement, you'll find something unexpected, deep, lasting peace. Tonight, you'll discover why millions of overwhelmed people have found rest in Solomon's ancient wisdom. You'll feel that crushing pressure begin to lift, that racing mind start to slow, and that heavy heart find the perspective it desperately needs. These aren't just words on a page. They're living wisdom that will settle into your soul and bring the rest you're craving. Take a deep breath with me. Feel your body releasing its grip on all the things you've been trying to control. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. You don't have to solve everything tonight. Father God, we come to you with hearts that are overwhelmed and minds that are spinning. Meet us in this ancient wisdom. Help us find the rest and perspective that only you can give. Amen. Maybe tonight you feel like you're on a hamster wheel that never stops. Work demands pile up faster than you can complete them. Family responsibilities multiply. Financial pressures mount. Social obligations overwhelm your calendar. You're running as fast as you can, but you never seem to get ahead. You never seem to catch up. Solomon knew this feeling intimately. As the king of Israel at its height, he had more responsibilities, more decisions, more pressures than perhaps anyone who ever lived. Yet listen to what he discovered about the nature of human striving. Ecclesiastes 1, verses 2 through 4. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Solomon isn't being pessimistic here. He's being honest. All that striving, all that endless effort, all that trying to get ahead, what does it actually accomplish? When you really step back and look at it, so much of what overwhelms you is just activity without lasting meaning. The word toil here means exhausting labor that leaves you depleted. You know that feeling, don't you? Working so hard that you collapse into bed exhausted, only to wake up tomorrow to do it all over again. Solomon is acknowledging that reality. He's saying, yes, life often feels like meaningless toil. You're not imagining it. You're not failing. This is the human condition. But here's what's beautiful about Ecclesiastes. In acknowledging the meaninglessness, Solomon points us toward what actually does have meaning. Listen to what he discovered. Ecclesiastes 2, verses 24 through 25. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This, I saw, is from the hand of God, for without him, who can eat or find enjoyment, find satisfaction in their own toil? The satisfaction doesn't come from accomplishing everything on your list. It doesn't come from getting ahead or keeping up. It comes from recognizing that even your work, even your daily responsibilities, can be a gift from God when you receive them with the right perspective. This is from the hand of God. Your daily work, your simple pleasures, your moments of rest, these aren't distractions from the spiritual life. They are the spiritual life. God has placed you exactly where you are, with exactly the responsibilities you have, and he wants you to find him in the midst of them, not escape from them. Maybe you feel completely trapped by your circumstances tonight, like you're stuck in a situation you never chose, carrying burdens you never wanted, facing problems you can't solve. The weight of it all feels suffocating. Solomon understood this trapped feeling. As king, he had responsibilities he couldn't escape, pressures he couldn't avoid, decisions that affected thousands of lives. But listen to what he learned about finding peace within unchangeable circumstances. Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 through 8. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, and a time to give up. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to mend. A time to be silent, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Your current season of overwhelming responsibility is just that, a season. It's not permanent. It's not forever. It has a beginning, and it will have an end. The pressure you're feeling right now is not your permanent address. A time to weep and a time to laugh. Your tears tonight over feeling overwhelmed are not a sign of weakness or failure. There is a time for weeping. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, acknowledges that some seasons are for tears. You're not supposed to be happy about being overwhelmed. You're allowed to grieve the weight you're carrying. A time to search and a time to give up. Maybe part of your overwhelm comes from searching for solutions that don't exist, trying to fix things that can't be fixed, attempting to control outcomes that are beyond your influence. Sometimes wisdom means giving up the search. Sometimes peace comes from stopping the endless quest for the perfect solution, a time to keep and a time to throw away. Perhaps you're overwhelmed because you're trying to keep too many commitments, hold on to too many responsibilities, maintain too many relationships, pursue too many goals. Wisdom knows when it's time to throw away, to release what no longer serves, to let go of what you can't maintain. Maybe you're exhausted from trying to make sense of everything that's happening in your life. Why did this crisis hit now? Why aren't your efforts producing the results you expected? Why does everything feel so chaotic and unpredictable? Solomon struggled with these same questions. He had access to unlimited resources, the best advisors, divine wisdom. Yet he still faced circumstances that baffled him. Ecclesiastes 8, verses 16 through 17. When I applied my mind to know wisdom and to observe the labor that is done on earth, people getting no sleep day or night, then I saw all that God has done. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. Even if the wise claim they know, they cannot really comprehend it. People getting no sleep day or night. Solomon sees you. He sees the way you lie awake at night, trying to figure everything out, trying to solve unsolvable problems, trying to understand incomprehensible circumstances. He knows what it's like when your mind won't stop working, when rest feels impossible because the pressure never stops. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. The wisest man who ever lived is telling you that it's okay not to understand. It's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay not to see how everything fits together. The confusion you're feeling isn't because you're not smart enough or spiritual enough. It's because human understanding has limits. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. You can stop trying so hard to figure it all out. You can stop exhausting yourself in the search for understanding that may never come. Your worth isn't determined by your ability to comprehend every twist and turn of your circumstances. Maybe you feel like you're failing at everything right now, like you can't keep up with what's expected of you, can't meet everyone's needs, can't maintain the standards you've set for yourself. The gap between what you're accomplishing and what you think you should be accomplishing feels overwhelming. But Solomon learned something profound about the futility of perfectionism and endless striving. Ecclesiastes 4, verses 4 through 6. And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. All toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. So much of what overwhelms you isn't actually necessary. It's driven by comparison, trying to keep up with others, trying to meet standards that aren't even your own, trying to achieve things that matter more to other people than they do to you. This too is meaningless. A chasing after the wind. Chasing after the wind. Can you picture it? Running frantically after something you can never catch. Exhausting yourself pursuing something that has no substance. So much of what overwhelms you is exactly that. Chasing after wind. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. You don't have to have it all, do it all, be it all. One handful, a simple, manageable life lived with tranquility, is better than two handfuls that come with endless toil. You have permission to choose less if it means choosing peace. Maybe you feel completely alone in your overwhelm, like everyone else has their life figured out while you're barely hanging on, like you're the only one struggling to keep all the pieces together. But Solomon observed something profound about the human condition that will comfort your lonely heart. Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 through 12. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Everyone falls down sometimes. Everyone gets overwhelmed. Everyone faces seasons where they can't keep going alone. Needing help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's recognition of how human beings were designed to live. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Your isolation and your overwhelm isn't God's plan for you. He designed you to need others and to be needed by others. Part of finding rest from overwhelm might mean reaching out for the help that's available to you. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. The third strand is God Himself. When you feel overwhelmed and alone, remember that you're part of a 3-strand cord. You, the people who love you, and God who holds it all together. That cord is stronger than whatever is threatening to break you. Maybe your overwhelm comes from a deep sense that you're responsible for outcomes you can't control. You feel like you have to make everything work out, fix everyone's problems, ensure that nothing goes wrong. The weight of that imagined responsibility is crushing. But Solomon learned something liberating about the limits of human control. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 11. I have seen something else under the sun. The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise or wealth to the brilliant or favor to the learned. But time and chance happen to them all. Time and chance happen to them all. So much of what happens in life is beyond your control. The swift don't always win the race. The strong don't always win the battle. The wise don't always prosper. There are factors at play that have nothing to do with your performance, your preparation, or your worthiness. This isn't discouraging, it's liberating. It means you can stop taking responsibility for outcomes that were never yours to control. You can do your best and leave the results to God. You can show up faithfully without carrying the weight of guaranteeing success. Let your breathing slow down as these truths settle into your spirit. Your striving doesn't have to be endless. Your season of overwhelm is temporary. Your confusion is understandable. Your standards don't have to be perfect. Your need for help is normal. Your responsibility has limits. You are not alone in this. Your to-do list feels endless tonight, doesn't it? Every time you cross something off, 3 more things appear. The emails keep coming. The deadlines keep approaching. The responsibilities keep multiplying. You feel like you're drowning in obligations that never stop growing. Solomon managed an entire kingdom, military affairs, economic policy, international relations, domestic disputes, religious ceremonies, construction projects. If anyone understood the feeling of endless responsibilities, it was him. But listen to what he discovered about the futility of trying to do it all. Ecclesiastes 1, verses 14 through 15. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Solomon isn't saying your work doesn't matter. He's saying that the frantic pace, the endless striving, the pressure to accomplish more and more, that's what's meaningless. The work itself can have purpose when it's done from a place of peace rather than panic. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. There are some things on your list that will never get done. Some problems you'll never solve. Some situations you'll never fix. Accepting this isn't giving up, it's wisdom. It's recognizing the limits of human effort and finding peace within those limits. Maybe your overwhelm comes from trying to be everything to everyone. Your family needs you, your boss needs you, your friends need you, your community needs you. Every direction you turn, someone has expectations, demands, requests that feel urgent and important. Solomon faced this same pressure as king. Everyone wanted his attention, his decisions, his time. But he learned something crucial about the impossibility of meeting everyone's expectations. Ecclesiastes 7, verses 13 through 14. Consider what God has done. Who can straighten what he has made crooked? When times are good, be happy. But when times are bad, consider this. God has made the one as well as the other. Therefore, no one can discover anything about their future. Who can straighten what he has made crooked? Some of the chaos in your life, some of the impossible situations you're trying to manage, some of the crooked circumstances you're trying to straighten. These may be beyond human fixing. God himself has allowed certain crookedness in your life, and your job isn't to straighten every crooked thing. When times are good, be happy. But when times are bad, consider this. God has made the one as well as the other. Your current season of feeling overwhelmed isn't evidence that you're failing or that God has abandoned you. It's simply a season, one that God has allowed and will use for purposes you may not understand yet. No one can discover anything about their future. You're exhausting yourself trying to control outcomes you can't predict. You're overwhelming yourself trying to prepare for futures you can't foresee. Part of finding peace is releasing your grip on tomorrow and focusing on today. Maybe you're overwhelmed because you're carrying shame about not being able to handle everything perfectly. You feel like you should be stronger, more organized, more capable. You feel like other people manage their lives better than you manage yours. But Solomon came to a startling realization about human limitation and divine purpose. Ecclesiastes 7, verses 16 through 18. Do not be over-righteous, neither be over-wise. Why destroy yourself? Do not be overwicked, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? It is good to grasp the one and not let go of the other. Whoever fears God will avoid all extremes. Do not be over-righteous, neither be over-wise. Why destroy yourself? Solomon warns against the very thing that might be overwhelming you right now, trying to be too perfect, too righteous, too wise, too capable. This kind of striving destroys you. It's not humility, it's pride disguised as spirituality. Why destroy yourself? The overwhelm you're feeling isn't noble. It's not spiritual. It's not what God wants for you. If your pursuit of excellence is destroying your peace, your health, your relationships, your joy, it's too much. God doesn't call you to destroy yourself in service to Him or others. Whoever fears God will avoid all extremes. A healthy fear of God, a proper understanding of His authority and your limitations, will keep you from the extreme of trying to be superhuman. It will help you accept your humanity and work within it rather than against it. Maybe your overwhelm comes from financial pressure. The bills keep coming, the expenses keep rising, the income doesn't seem to stretch far enough. You lie awake calculating and recalculating, trying to figure out how to make the numbers work. Solomon was the richest man in the ancient world, but he still understood the anxiety that comes with financial concerns. Listen to what he observed about money and contentment. Ecclesiastes 5, verses 10 through 12. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much, but as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. If your financial overwhelm is driven by wanting more rather than managing what you have, you've stepped onto a treadmill that never stops. There will always be more to want, more to need, more to pursue. The overwhelm isn't coming from your circumstances, it's coming from your expectations. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. Often when income increases, expenses increase proportionally. The solution to financial overwhelm isn't always more money. It's often simpler living, clearer priorities, contentment with what you have. The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. The person trying to manage abundance, multiple investments, complex financial strategies, they lie awake overwhelmed. Sometimes less really is more. Maybe you're overwhelmed by comparison, scrolling through social media and seeing everyone else's highlight reels, attending gatherings where everyone seems to have their life more together than you do, looking around and feeling like you're the only one struggling to keep up. Solomon had every material advantage, every opportunity for achievement, every reason for confidence. Yet he made a sobering observation about comparison and envy. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 4. And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. All toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. How much of your overwhelm is actually necessary? How much is driven by trying to keep up with others, match their achievements, meet their standards? When you strip away the comparison, what remains? What actually matters to you, not to the people you're trying to impress? This too is meaningless. A chasing after the wind, trying to outdo others, trying to appear as successful as others, trying to live up to other people's expectations. It's chasing after wind. You'll never catch it, and you'll exhaust yourself trying. Maybe your overwhelm comes from perfectionism. You can't just do things, you have to do them perfectly. You can't just meet the deadline, you have to exceed expectations. You can't just maintain relationships, you have to be the perfect friend, spouse, parent, colleague. Solomon, despite his wisdom, fell into this same trap. He built the most magnificent temple, the most beautiful palace, the most impressive kingdom. But listen to what he concluded about the pursuit of perfection. Ecclesiastes 2, verses 17 through 18. So I hated life, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. So I hated life, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. When work becomes about perfection rather than purpose, when achievement becomes about image rather than impact, when success becomes about comparison rather than contribution, it becomes grievous. It stops bringing joy and starts bringing misery. I must leave them to the one who comes after me. All your perfect achievements, all your flawless projects, all your impressive accomplishments, they won't last forever. They can't carry the weight of your identity or the source of your worth. Building your life on temporary achievements is building on sand. Maybe you're overwhelmed because you're trying to solve problems that aren't yours to solve. Family members with issues you can't fix. Friends with decisions you can't make for them. Circumstances beyond your influence that you're trying to control through worry and effort. Solomon learned something profound about the boundaries of personal responsibility. Ecclesiastes 3, verses 14 through 15. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. God does it so that people will fear him. Whatever is has already been, and what will be has been before. And God will call the past to account. Everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. God's work in your life and in the lives of others doesn't depend on your intervention. Your frantic efforts to fix everything, control everything, solve everything, they can't add to what God is already doing. Your worry can't improve his plans. God does it so that people will fear him. One purpose of overwhelming circumstances is to teach you proper fear of God, recognition that he is God and you are not. When you try to carry responsibilities that belong to him, you're acting as if you're God. Healthy fear brings you back to your proper place. Maybe you're overwhelmed by regret about the past, decisions you made that led to current problems, opportunities you missed that could have prevented your current stress, words you said or didn't say that created ongoing complications. But Solomon came to a liberating understanding about the past and its power over the present. Ecclesiastes 7, verse 10. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? For it is not wise to ask such questions. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? Looking backward with regret, wishing things were different, replaying scenarios where you made better choices, this isn't wisdom, it's self-torture. It adds the weight of the past to the burden of the present. For it is not wise to ask such questions. Wisdom accepts the present as the starting point. Wisdom works with what is, not with what was or what could have been. Your current overwhelm may have roots in past decisions, but dwelling on those roots won't change your current reality. Maybe you feel overwhelmed because you can't see any way forward. Every path looks difficult. Every option has complications. Every decision seems to lead to more problems rather than solutions. But Solomon discovered something hopeful about navigating uncertain times. Ecclesiastes 11, verses 1 through 6. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. If clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where it falls, there it will lie. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind, or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the Maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. You don't know what's coming, so you can't prepare for every possibility. You can't overwhelm yourself trying to plan for every contingency. Uncertainty is part of the human condition. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. If you wait for perfect conditions before taking action, you'll never act. If you wait until you can see all the outcomes before making decisions, you'll never decide. Sometimes you have to move forward despite uncertainty. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Plant seeds without knowing which ones will grow. Take faithful action without guaranteeing successful outcomes. Your job is faithfulness, not results. Rest in this wisdom tonight. Your overwhelm is not permanent. Your efforts don't have to be perfect. Your responsibility has boundaries. Your worth isn't determined by your productivity. Your peace is not dependent on your circumstances. You can stop chasing the wind and start resting in what is. You're wondering if this feeling of being overwhelmed will ever end, aren't you? If there will ever be a season when life feels manageable, when the pressure lets up, when you can breathe freely again. You're looking for hope that things can be different. Solomon, in all his wisdom and experience, discovered something beautiful about God's timing and the rhythm of human life. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Your current season of overwhelm is not the end of your story. God is making something beautiful from it, but it has to happen in its time, not yours. The pressure you're feeling, the stress you're carrying, the chaos you're navigating, God will make something beautiful from all of it, but you have to trust His timing. He has also set eternity in the human heart. That restless feeling in your spirit, that sense that there must be more than this endless cycle of overwhelm, that longing for something greater, God put that there. Your dissatisfaction with being overwhelmed is actually evidence that you were made for something better. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. You don't have to understand how God is going to transform your current chaos into something beautiful. You don't have to see the plan or figure out the process. Your job is to trust that He's working, even when you can't see it. Maybe you're afraid that if you slow down, if you stop trying so hard, if you release some of your tight control, everything will fall apart. You feel like your constant vigilance is the only thing holding your life together. But Solomon learned something liberating about divine sovereignty and human effort. Ecclesiastes 2, verses 24 through 26. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This, I saw, is from the hand of God, for without Him, who can eat or find enjoyment? To the person who pleases Him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner, He gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth, to hand it over to the one who pleases God. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. The highest good isn't achieving more, accomplishing more, controlling more. It's finding satisfaction in simple pleasures and meaningful work. It's enjoying the life you already have instead of exhausting yourself pursuing the life you think you should have. This, I saw, is from the hand of God. Your daily work, your simple meals, your moments of rest and enjoyment, these come from God's hand. They're not distractions from spiritual life. They are spiritual life. God wants you to find Him in the ordinary moments, not just in the extraordinary achievements. To the person who pleases Him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. Pleasing God doesn't mean overwhelming yourself with endless service. It means trusting Him enough to receive His gifts of wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. It means living from rest rather than striving for rest. Maybe you're worried about what will happen if you don't accomplish everything on your list, if you don't meet everyone's expectations, if you don't maintain the pace you've been keeping. You fear disappointing others or falling behind. But Solomon discovered something profound about the ultimate insignificance of human achievement compared to divine purpose. Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 through 14. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. After exploring every avenue of human achievement, after accumulating vast wealth and wisdom, after building incredible structures and systems, Solomon concludes that the whole duty of humanity comes down to this: fear God and keep His commandments. Not achieve everything, fix everything, control everything. Just fear God and obey Him. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. God sees every effort you make, every sacrifice you offer, every burden you carry, even the hidden ones that no one else notices. Your faithful obedience in the midst of overwhelm, your choice to trust Him when you can't see the way forward, your decision to rest in His sovereignty, these matter to Him more than any achievement on your list. Maybe you feel like your life lacks purpose because it's so consumed with mundane responsibilities. Changing diapers, paying bills, grocery shopping, cleaning house, sitting in traffic, attending meetings. Where's the significance in any of that? Solomon came to a revolutionary understanding about finding meaning in the midst of ordinary life. Ecclesiastes 9, verses 7 through 10. Go, eat your food with gladness, and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for God has already approved what you do. Always be clothed in white, and always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun, all your meaningless days. For this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Go, eat your food with gladness, and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for God has already approved what you do. God has already approved your simple pleasures, your moments of joy, your times of rest and celebration. You don't have to earn the right to enjoy life. You don't have to accomplish more before you're allowed to be happy. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life. Even in the midst of life's apparent meaninglessness, there are pockets of profound meaning, love, relationship, connection, shared joy. These aren't consolation prizes for a life that doesn't matter. These are where life's meaning is actually found. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Your current responsibilities, even the overwhelming ones, can be done with purpose and joy when you understand they're from God's hand. The meaning isn't in the task itself. It's in doing it as unto God, with all your might, from a place of rest rather than striving. Maybe you're exhausted from trying to make sense of suffering, injustice, and chaos in your life and in the world around you. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does life seem so unfair? Why doesn't God intervene in obvious ways? Solomon wrestled with these same questions and came to a profound conclusion about divine mystery and human trust. Ecclesiastes 8, verses 14 through 15. There is something meaningless that occurs on earth. The righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve. This too, I say, is meaningless. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for mortals under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them under the sun. There is something meaningless that occurs on earth. The righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve. Solomon acknowledges the apparent injustice and chaos that overwhelms your sense of fairness. Sometimes good people suffer while bad people prosper. Sometimes your best efforts lead to failure, while others succeed through luck or manipulation. So I commend the enjoyment of life. In the face of inexplicable circumstances, Solomon's recommendation isn't despair or cynicism. It's joy. It's choosing to find happiness despite the chaos, pleasure despite the pain, meaning despite the mystery. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them. When you choose joy in the midst of toil, when you find gladness despite overwhelm, when you celebrate small pleasures in the middle of big problems, joy becomes your companion. It transforms the nature of your work from burden to blessing. Maybe you're afraid that your current struggles are evidence that God doesn't care about you, or that you've somehow fallen outside His favor. You look at your overwhelm and wonder if it means you're failing spiritually. But Solomon learned something beautiful about God's gifts to those He loves. Ecclesiastes 5, verses 18 through 20. This is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given them, for this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. They seldom reflect on the days of their life, because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. It is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor. Your need for rest, pleasure, simple enjoyments, satisfaction in your work. These aren't selfish desires. They're appropriate. They're what God intended for human life. Taking care of yourself isn't spiritual weakness. It's spiritual wisdom. To accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. The ability to accept your current circumstances, to find happiness even in toilsome labor, to be content with your lot in life. This is a gift from God, not a natural human ability. If you're struggling to find contentment in your overwhelm, ask God for this gift. God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. When God gives the gift of contentment, you become occupied with gladness rather than anxiety, joy rather than overwhelm, gratitude rather than resentment. Your heart becomes filled with something better than worry. Maybe you feel like you're supposed to have more faith, trust more easily, worry less, handle stress better. You feel like your overwhelm is evidence of spiritual immaturity or lack of trust in God. But Solomon, in all his wisdom, acknowledge the reality of human limitation and divine grace. Ecclesiastes 7, verses 29. This only have I found. God created mankind upright, but they have gone in search of many schemes. God created mankind upright, but they have gone in search of many schemes. You were created for simplicity, but you've gotten tangled up in complexity. You were made for rest, but you've gotten caught up in striving. You were designed for trust, but you've taken on the burden of control. This isn't your fault. It's the human condition. The promise here is that God's original design for you is still available. The uprightness, the simplicity, the rest He intended for you can still be yours. You don't have to remain trapped in your schemes and strategies and endless efforts to make everything work. Maybe you're wondering if God really sees your specific struggles, your particular overwhelm, your individual stress. Does He care about your Monday morning meetings and your Friday night exhaustion? Solomon learned something beautiful about God's intimate involvement in the details of human life. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 17. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. There is a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. God sees every moment of your overwhelm. He knows about every email that stressed you out, every deadline that pressured you, every relationship that drained you. He has a time and place for addressing each deed, each struggle, each burden. Nothing escapes His notice or His care. Rest in these promises tonight. God is making something beautiful from your overwhelm, but it will happen in His time. Your simple pleasures and ordinary joys are gifts from His hand. Your faithful service in the midst of chaos pleases Him more than perfect achievements. Your need for contentment is a prayer He longs to answer. Your limitations are opportunities for His grace. Every detail of your life is seen and cared for by the One who holds all time in His hands. I know it's hard to have faith when you're feeling overwhelmed, when life feels chaotic and out of control, when your efforts don't seem to produce the results you need, when God feels distant from your daily struggles. Trusting feels almost impossible, doesn't it? Solomon had every reason for confidence in human wisdom and ability. He had divine wisdom, unlimited resources, and incredible achievements. Yet he learned something profound about the limits of human understanding and the necessity of faith. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 14. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. God does it so that people will fear Him. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. Your frantic efforts to fix everything, control everything, accomplish everything, they can't add to what God is already doing in your life. Your overwhelm isn't helping God's plans. It's often hindering your ability to see them. God does it so that people will fear Him. One purpose of overwhelming circumstances is to teach you proper fear of God, recognition that He is in control and you are not. When you're forced to admit that your efforts aren't sufficient, when you have to acknowledge that you can't manage everything, you're learning the beginning of wisdom. Faith doesn't mean having all the answers. It means trusting that God has them even when you don't. Maybe your faith is struggling because you can't see God's hand in your current circumstances. Everything feels random, chaotic, meaningless. You wonder if God is even paying attention to your overwhelm. But Solomon learned something crucial about divine purpose hidden in apparent chaos. Ecclesiastes 8, verse 17. Then I saw all that God has done. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. Even if the wise claim they know, they cannot really comprehend it. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Even Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, couldn't figure out everything that was happening in his life. Your inability to understand your circumstances isn't evidence of weak faith. It's evidence of human limitation. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. You can stop exhausting yourself trying to understand why you're facing this overwhelm, what lesson you're supposed to learn, what you're supposed to do differently. Sometimes the meaning isn't discoverable through human effort. Even if the wise claim they know, they cannot really comprehend it. Faith means being comfortable with mystery. It means trusting God's wisdom even when you can't access it, believing in His love even when you can't feel it, resting in His control even when you can't see it. Maybe you feel like your faith should make you less overwhelmed, more peaceful, better able to handle stress. You think that if you really trusted God, you wouldn't feel so anxious and burdened. But Solomon discovered that even people of great faith experience the full range of human emotions and struggles. Ecclesiastes 7, verse 3. Frustration is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. Frustration is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. Sometimes your overwhelm is producing something good in your heart. Sometimes frustration is teaching you things that laughter can't. Sometimes your struggles are developing character, compassion, dependence on God that wouldn't grow any other way. Your sadness about being overwhelmed isn't evidence of weak faith. It's evidence of a heart that's being made tender, a spirit that's being made teachable, a soul that's being prepared for greater trust in God. Maybe your faith feels weak because you keep wanting to take control back from God. You say you trust Him, but then you lie awake making plans, trying to solve problems, attempting to manage outcomes that are beyond your influence. Solomon understood this very human struggle between faith and control. Ecclesiastes 9. Verse 1. So I reflected on all this and concluded that the righteous and the wise and what they do are in God's hands, but no one knows whether love or hate awaits them. The righteous and the wise and what they do are in God's hands. Your work, your relationships, your health, your finances, your future, all of it is in God's hands. This isn't just a nice theological concept, it's the foundational reality of the universe. Recognizing this isn't passive resignation, it's active trust. But no one knows whether love or hate awaits them. You don't know what's coming next, and that's okay. Faith doesn't require knowing the future. It requires trusting the one who holds the future. Your job isn't to predict or control what's coming. Your job is to remain faithful in what's here now. Maybe you struggle with faith because you feel like you should be able to handle your overwhelm better. You think strong Christians don't get stressed, don't feel anxious, don't struggle with too much to do. But Solomon learned something important about accepting human limitations while maintaining faith in divine sufficiency. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 12. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. It's normal to be overpowered sometimes. It's expected that there will be situations bigger than your individual capacity to handle. Being overwhelmed isn't spiritual failure, it's human reality. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. The 3rd strand in your cord is God Himself. When you're overwhelmed, when your individual resources are exhausted, when you can't handle everything alone, that's when the strength of the 3-strand cord becomes apparent. Your weakness becomes the context for displaying God's strength. Maybe your faith wavers because you've prayed about your overwhelm and nothing seems to change. You've asked God for help, for relief, for guidance, and your circumstances remain stubbornly difficult. But Solomon learned something profound about God's timing and the mystery of answered prayer. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Your season of overwhelm has a beginning, and it will have an end. God's timing for relief, for change, for breakthrough may not match your timing, but His timing is perfect. Faith means trusting His schedule even when it conflicts with yours. Sometimes God's answer to your prayer for less overwhelm isn't immediate removal of responsibilities. Sometimes it's increased strength to carry them. Sometimes it's greater peace in the midst of chaos. Sometimes it's deeper trust that transforms the nature of your burden even when the burden itself remains. Maybe you feel guilty for wanting rest, for needing help, for not being able to handle everything with joy and thanksgiving. You think having faith means being grateful for your overwhelm, rather than asking for relief from it. But Solomon discovered something beautiful about God's heart toward human pleasure and rest. Ecclesiastes 2, verse 24. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This, I saw, is from the hand of God. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. God wants you to enjoy life, to take pleasure in simple things, to find satisfaction in your work rather than exhaustion. Your desire for rest and enjoyment isn't unspiritual. It's how God designed you. Is from the hand of God. Your need for rest comes from God. Your desire for manageable responsibilities comes from God. Your longing for peace comes from God. These aren't selfish wants. They're holy instincts that point you toward your Creator's intentions for your life. Maybe you're afraid to fully trust God with your overwhelm because you think He might make your life even harder as a test of faith. You worry that surrendering control means inviting more difficulty. But Solomon learned something encouraging about God's character and His intentions toward His people. Ecclesiastes 5, verse 19. When God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. The ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. God gives the gift of contentment, the ability to be happy in your circumstances, the capacity to find joy even in toilsome labor. This is a gift He wants to give you, not a test He wants to withhold from you. Trusting God with your overwhelm doesn't mean inviting more overwhelm. It means inviting His perspective, His strength, His peace, His wisdom into your current circumstances. It means allowing Him to transform your experience of those circumstances, even if He doesn't immediately change the circumstances themselves. Maybe you feel like your faith is too small to make a difference in your overwhelming situation. You wish you had the kind of unshakable trust that could move mountains, but your faith feels more like a flickering candle. But Solomon understood something important about the value of even small, struggling faith. Ecclesiastes 12, verse 1. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. Remember your Creator, even in the midst of overwhelm, even when your faith feels weak, even when you can't see God's hand. Remember Him. Remember His character, His promises, His love, His faithfulness. Remembering isn't the same as feeling. It's a choice you make with your mind even when your heart is struggling. The act of remembering God in the midst of overwhelm is itself an act of faith. Choosing to turn your thoughts toward Him when they want to spiral into anxiety, speaking His name when you want to complain, recalling His goodness when you feel forgotten. These small acts of faith matter more than you know. Tonight, let your faith be exactly what it is. Small, struggling, imperfect, but real. Faith that wrestles with mystery. Faith that asks hard questions. faith that desires relief while trusting God's timing, faith that needs help while believing in divine sufficiency, faith that feels overwhelmed while choosing to remember the one who is never overwhelmed. Your small faith in a big God is enough, more than enough. Rest in his ability to work through your God weakness, his power to bring peace through your chaos, his love to sustain you when your own resources fail. The weight is lifting, isn't it? That crushing sense of having too much to do, too much to manage, too much to control, it's beginning to ease as Solomon's ancient wisdom settles into your heart. You can feel your shoulders dropping, your breathing deepening, your mind finally beginning to quiet. Listen to these final words from the wisest man who ever lived, words spoken directly to your overwhelmed soul. Ecclesiastes 11, verse 10. So then, banish anxiety from your heart and cast off the troubles of your body, for youth and vigor are meaningless. Banish anxiety from your heart. This isn't a command you have to strain to obey. It's an invitation to release what was never yours to carry. The anxiety about tomorrow's deadlines, next week's challenges, next month's uncertainties. You can banish them from your heart right now, not because you're strong enough to push them away, but because you're wise enough to let them go. Cast off the troubles of your body. Feel that tension leaving your neck, your shoulders, your back. The physical weight of overwhelm is melting away as you remember that your body was made for rest, not endless stress. You can cast off these troubles like taking off clothes that are too heavy, too tight, too burdensome. Your breathing is naturally slowing down now. Your muscles are naturally relaxing. This is what happens when your soul remembers its true home in God's peace. The to-do list that felt so urgent an hour ago is fading in importance. The problems that seemed so pressing are finding their proper perspective. This is the wisdom of Ecclesiastes working in your spirit, showing you what truly matters and what you can safely release. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 7. A time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to be silent. This is that time. Time to stop talking through all the problems. Stop planning all the solutions. Stop rehearsing all the worries. Time to be silent and let God's peace fill the space that anxiety has been occupying. Feel yourself sinking deeper into that silence. Notice how restful it is to stop trying to figure everything out. Your mind is beginning to quiet like water becoming still. Maybe you feel that familiar urge to pick up the burden again, to start making mental lists, to begin planning tomorrow's responsibilities. But listen to Solomon's gentle wisdom, Ecclesiastes 5, verse 7. Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore fear God. Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. The endless mental planning, the constant internal dialogue about what you need to do and how you're going to do it, much of it is meaningless. It creates the illusion of control without actually providing any control. Therefore fear God. True peace comes not from managing every detail but from remembering who is actually in charge. God holds tomorrow in his hands. God sees every responsibility on your list. God knows every need before you do. You can rest in his oversight rather than exhausting yourself with your own. Let that truth settle deep into your spirit. Feel the relief of remembering that you're not actually in control. Notice how much lighter you feel when you stop trying to carry what belongs to God. Your eyelids are growing heavy now. That restless energy that kept you overwhelmed is transforming into gentle tiredness, the kind that leads to deep, restorative sleep. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 6. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Better 1 handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. You're choosing tranquility tonight. You're choosing the 1 handful of peace over the 2 handfuls of endless striving. You're choosing rest over racing, stillness over stress, contentment over chaos. Feel that choice settling into your body. Notice how your whole system responds to the decision to choose tranquility. Your breath becomes deeper, your heartbeat slows, your mind releases its grip on tomorrow's concerns. As sleep begins to call to you, let Solomon's final conclusion wash over your weary soul. Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 through 14. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. After all his searching, all his achievements, all his wisdom, Solomon discovered that the whole duty of life comes down to this simple thing: fear God and keep his commandments. Not accomplish everything on your list, not solve every problem, not control every outcome. Just fear God and obey him. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing. Every effort you've made today that went unnoticed, God saw it. Every sacrifice you offered that no one appreciated, God valued it. Every burden you carried that no one understood, God counted it. Your faithful service in the midst of overwhelm matters to him. You can rest now. You can stop trying so hard. You can release the weight of trying to be more than human. Feel yourself drifting into the deep peace that comes from accepting your place in God's great design. You are not the manager of the universe. You are not responsible for outcomes beyond your control. You are simply called to be faithful in what is yours and trust God with what is his. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 7. Go, eat your food with gladness, and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for God has already approved what you do. God has already approved what you do. You don't have to earn his approval through perfect performance. You don't have to justify your existence through endless achievement. God has already approved of you, already accepted you, already loves you completely. You can rest in that approval instead of striving for it. Sleep is coming naturally now, peacefully, gently. Your body knows it's time to rest. Your spirit knows it's safe to let go. The overwhelm that brought you here tonight is dissolving like morning mist. The pressure is lifting like a weight being removed from your chest. The anxiety is fading like shadows at dawn. One final gift of wisdom from Solomon to carry you into dreams. Ecclesiastes 5, verse 12. The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. The sleep of a laborer is sweet. Your sleep tonight will be sweet because you've learned to labor within proper boundaries, to work from rest rather than for rest, to find satisfaction in simple faithfulness rather than spectacular achievement. You are a laborer who has done honest work today, who has carried real responsibilities, who has served faithfully even when overwhelmed. Now you can sleep the sweet sleep of one whose work is blessed by God. Rest now in the wisdom of Ecclesiastes. Rest in the knowledge that there is a time for everything, and this is the time for sleep. Rest in the truth that God makes everything beautiful in its time, including your current overwhelm. You are held by wisdom that is higher than yours, guided by love that never fails, carried by strength that never weakens. Your overwhelm is not the end of the story. God is making something beautiful from it all. Sleep deeply. Rest completely. Wake tomorrow with fresh perspective and renewed strength. You are safe in the hands of the one who holds all time, all seasons, all circumstances. The peace of Ecclesiastes surrounds you. The wisdom of Solomon comforts you. The love of God sustains you. Rest now. All is well. All is in His hands. You can sleep in peace.